So, last time we learned the chords for I Will Survive, which were A minor 7, D minor, G7, C major, F major 7, B minor 7 flat 5, and E7. Today, we're going to learn what these things that we say like major or major 7 or flat 5, what they mean, and where we got these shapes from. So, the first thing to do is we're going to start with the definition of a major chord. What is a major chord? A major chord is a starting note, the note 4 half steps above it, which in this case, since our starting note is E, is going to be G sharp, and then the note 3 half steps above that, which is B. So, this would be for an E major chord, since we started with E. An E major chord, legally, is at least one of, and nothing other than, E, G sharp, and B. So, that's an E major. Now, on the guitar, what we do is we find places to put our fingers on each of the 6 strings so that we only have E's, B's, and G sharps. So we begin by asking ourselves, what is the name of a string, to figure out what we do with that string. So we start with the E string, because as you know, we say Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And we ask ourselves, is E an E, a G sharp, or a B? Well, yes, it's an E, so we can play 0 on the E string. All right? The next string, the A string from Eddie 8, is most certainly not an E, nor is it a G sharp, nor is it a B. So when this happens, we have to play a fret on the string. We cannot play the string open. So we ask ourselves the following question. What note in the chord is closest to and above A? Okay, if you said B, you're right. So the next step is to find a B on the A string. So 0 is A, 1 is A sharp or B flat, 2 is B. So we have a 0 and a 2, or an E and a B in our E major chord. We're got to go on to the next string. So the next string, Eddie ate dynamite. Bad idea, but that's what he did. So now we wonder, is D and E a G sharp or a B? No, it's not. So what's closest to and above D is E. So we're going to go up until we hit E. 0 is D, 1 is D sharp or E flat, 2 is an E. Okay, our next string, Eddie ate dynamite, good. It's only good if you don't like Eddie. We don't think it's good when people we like eat dynamite because they explode. So G is not an E or a G sharp or a B, so we have to get one of these notes. Closest to and above G is a G sharp. So we say 0 is G, 1 is G sharp. And now we have an E, a B, an E, and a G sharp. This is legally an E major chord. It's an E major chord on a mandolin, on a banjo, on a ukulele. If you play 3 saxophones at the same time and you play these 3 notes, it's an E major chord. You can use it on any instrument. Now the guitar still has 2 strings, which we haven't used, and we can use them to get a fuller sound from our E major chord. So the next strings are B from goodbye and Eddie, or Eric, or everyone standing near Eddie when Eddie explodes after eating the dynamite. Because B and E are in our major chord, we can play them as open strings. So we can say an E major chord is 0, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0. Now, When we turn this into a bar chord, we're going to want to make some adjustments. All we do to turn it into a bar chord is slide the shape 1 fret higher. So we add 1 to E if we want to F major, for instance, because F is 1 away from E. So 0 plus 1 is 1, 2s plus 1 are 3s, 1s plus 1 are 2s. So we have 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1. Now, if you have not played guitar for a long time, this action of barring is going to be very difficult and uncomfortable, and it will sound like... So we're going to learn the easy way. Okay? So if you remember, our rule, legal definition of a chord was, for E major, at least one and nothing other than E, G sharp, and B. At least one of each of these and nothing more. So we can get rid of any doubles we have. In our chord that we came up with, we have 3 E's. We're going to get rid of this one, the E on the D string. We're not going to play it. We have 2 B's. We're going to get rid of this B that's on the A string. Okay? And instead, since we got rid of 2 strings, we're going to only play 4 strings. We're going to use our thumb, index, middle, and ring fingers to pull the strings together, just like this. And that gives us an E major chord. The nice thing being, this 0xx100, when we add 1 to every number to get our F major, we do not have to bar. And we can play F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp, or A flat major, A, etc., 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 etc. Okay? So, now we're going to look at our next kind of chord. This is a major chord shape. We're going to look at how did we get a minor chord shape. All right? A minor chord is the opposite or the reverse order of a major chord. A major chord is start, 4 half steps, 3 half steps. A minor chord is start, 3 half steps, 4 half steps. You can remember that this is minor because minor means small, and in minor, the small number comes first. So, what it means is an E minor is going to have E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. It has E, G, and B. Now, the major chord also had the B on top. So the only difference in minor and major is this middle note, which we call the third, has changed from a G sharp to a G. So we're going to look at our major chord that we figured out just a second ago, the E major, which was 0xx100, or E, G sharp, B, E. And we're going to say, how can we change the G sharp to a G to make it minor? Well, if you said, we're going to get the 1 on the G string and we're going to turn it into a 0 on the G string, you are right. Okay, so an E minor is 0xx000. Okay, and we can scoot it up as before. E minor, F minor, F sharp or G flat minor, G minor, G sharp or A flat minor, A minor, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the 2 kinds of triads. By a triad, we mean a chord that only has 3 notes. There are other kinds of triads. We're not doing them today. Okay, so for now we have major triads and minor triads. When someone writes a major chord on a lead sheet, they don't write major or anything, they just write the letter. So E major looks like E. E minor, however, looks like an E with a little M. Okay, so now we're going to move on to sevenths. you will see two kinds of sevenths. One, they write MAJ7. This is for a major 7. Another kind, you will see written just a 7. If they write just a 7, it defaults to a minor 7. Okay? A 7 is just a note that we add to the chord that's a certain distance from the root. The root is the chord, it's the letter we name the chord after. So, for me, I like to think of it this way. I say a major 7 is 1 less than an octave above the root. Okay? So, an octave above E is E. 1 less than an octave above E is D sharp. Okay? We could say it's 11 higher than the root. I don't count to 11. I'm stupid. Okay? I don't do it. So, an E major or an E major 7 chord is just an E major chord. If you remember, E, G sharp, B with a D sharp thrown in. Now, unfortunately, since this one's going to be on different strings, we have to start over from scratch. We're going to remember our whole process. So our first string is Eddie. Is Eddie an E, G sharp, B, or D sharp? Yes, it is, so we can play 0. Boom. Eddie 8. Is A, E, G sharp, B, D sharp? No. So we have to move to what is closest to and above A. Closest to and above A is A sharp, B. All right, we got our E, we got our B. Our next string, Eddie 8, Dynamite. Okay, Dynamite, not E, G sharp, B, or D sharp. D is not D sharp. They're different things. One is sharp, one is not. Okay, so we say, how do we get a D sharp on the D string? Well, it's easy. It's 1 higher. D is 0, D sharp is 1. So far we have 0 to 1. Our next string, Eddie 8, Dynamite, good, is still not in the chord, so we have to play the first fret. G is 0, G sharp is 1. To get our G sharp, 0, 2, 1, 1. Once again, legally speaking, this is a E major 7 chord, but we're going to add in this B and this E. Okay, so this is the chord. Now, if we make a bar of it, it's really not pretty. I don't even like the way it sounds, and it's a lot of work to do with your index finger here. So once again, we're going to look for doubles. Okay? So doubles, I have 2 E's. We are going to get rid of the high E string. No more. No more. Sorry if you liked that sound. Okay? We are going to get rid of the B that's on the A string. And so we're only going to play the Eddie Dynamite Goodbye goodbye strings. These ones. Okay? So this is an E major 7. We can add 1 to it. If you don't know that F comes after E by the end of this video, you're really not paying attention. F major 7, F sharp, G, G sharp, blah, 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 etc. Okay, so this is a major 7 shape. That's where it comes from. The next one we're going to do is called an E7 shape. All right? So, first question, is the E beneath the 7? If we get rid of the 7, is the E major or minor? If you said major, good for you. Major is the default for a triad. Okay? And the 7, if they don't write major, is always minor. So since it just says E7, it's an E major triad with a minor 7 added. Now, a minor 7 is 10 half steps higher than the root. I don't like to count to 10, so I say 2 less than an octave. E, an octave above E is E, 2 half steps below, and E is a D. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take our E major 7 chord that we just did a second ago, and we're going to turn it into an E7 chord, sometimes called an E major minor 7 chord, or an E dominant 7 chord. Okay, so here is our E major 7 chord. We have to turn the D sharp into a D, because that's the only difference. Our D sharp is on the D string. It's 1. How do we turn this D sharp into a D? We just get our finger off and turn it into a 0. So an E7 is 0, X, 0, 1, 0, nothing, nada, zip, zilch. Okay? So if we want to turn it into a bar chord, we add 1 to everything. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. These are 7 chords. G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat, B. There you have your 7 chords. Okay? The next one we're going to do is called E minor 7. For E minor 7, what we want to do is we have to look at this little M, okay? The M in this lead sheet symbol is not for the 7. The M applies to the triad. The 7 is already minor because 7's default to minor. The M makes the triad minor. So if you remember from before, a minor chord is start 3, 4, and our E minor chord was E, G, B. So this is going to be an E minor chord, or E, G, and B, with a minor 7, which in our 7 chords that we just did, we learned the minor 7 above E is D. So here is our E7 that we just did. Sorry. No, never mind, I'm not sorry. Our E7 that we just did. And the only difference is that E7 has a G sharp, and E minor 7 has a G because the triad is minor. So how do we turn a G sharp into a G? Well, our G sharp is here. It's 1 on the G string. To get it to be 0 on the G string, we just take it off. Sometimes you add letters to guitar chords and they get way easier. You look at it and you're like, oh, it's a horrible thing. It's got letters and numbers. It actually gets easier. So E minor 7 is 0, X, 0, 0, 0. And after E minor 7 comes F minor 7, F minor 7, F sharp, G, G sharp, etc., etc. Okay, now we're going to describe this next one in a weird way. We're going to do E minor 7 flat 5. We just did E minor 7. It was E, G, B, D. All right, now we have to talk about what these numbers like B or G, sorry, like I said numbers and then I said letters. Numbers like 5 or 7 or 3 mean, okay? They are referring to a note in the chord. And an E chord, for instance, E is the root. B is going to be the 5th, because if we say 5 letters in the alphabet starting with E, E, F, G, A, B, don't judge me for having to think about the alphabet. Then B is the 5th letter. This is also why D is the 7th. E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Okay? So by flat 5, we mean we're going to take what was the 5th, in this case, a B from an E minor 7 chord, and we're going to lower it 1/2 step, so it becomes a B flat. Now, we have a problem here, is that E minor 7 was 0, X, 0, 0, 0. To lower this B to a B flat, we have to play a -1 fret. We have to subtract from 0. We can't do it, but we can use the idea for just a moment, okay? So an E minor 7 flat 5 chord is 0, X, 0, 0, -1. Which just is a placeholder, because what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 to everything. So this is an F minor 7 flat 5. This next one is the shape I recommend people practice. It's what we used in I Will Survive for B minor 7 flat 5. This is F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And it slides around perfectly. G minor 7 flat 5. G sharp minor 7 flat 5. A minor 7 flat 5. Now, in some genres of music, people will call a minor 7 flat 5 chord a half diminished 7 chord, which is fine. They can do that. We understand them. It would be easier if everyone called everything the same, but it's there are worse problems in the world. Okay, so F sharp minor 7 flat 5 is 2 X 2 2 1. And that's what we would want to practice. It's this shape that we're going to slide around. Now, those are all of the chords shapes that we used in I Will Survive. We chose those because they're very common. However, there are two that we did not use that are like very uncommon, so we skipped over them. I'm only doing this to satisfy the people who will say, you didn't cover these chords. So we have one called E minor major 7. So if you remember an E minor 7 from a moment ago, it was E, D, G, and B. And a major 7, remember the 7 is the D. To become a major 7, we have to make that note one less than an octave. One less than an octave is a D sharp. So we turn our D, 0 on the D string, into a D sharp, which is 1 on the D string. This is like, normally this chord is something you play in between other chords. Okay? The other one that we left out, which is slightly more common than a minor major 7 chord, is called a fully diminished 7 chord. This one we're just going to start from scratch, and we're going to use F sharp as our root. Okay, so we're going to do a F sharp fully diminished 7 chord. You just have to memorize this formula. It's start 3 3 3 3. It's pretty easy. It's all threes. Okay, so we start on F sharp. 3 half steps up from F sharp is A. 3 half steps up from A is C. 3 half steps up from C is E flat. Okay, so now we say, fine, here's the E string. For certain reasons of not having to stretch your hand into a horrible shape, we play different notes than we normally would. Okay, so F sharp is 2 on the E string, E, F, F sharp. A is in the chord, but we're not going to play an A here. We're going to play the next note, a C, A sharp, B, C. Okay, then we need an E flat, which we're going to get from the D string. 0 is D, 1 is D sharp, which if you remember from the last time is also called E flat. Then we have another note on the G string, which we are going to play as A. So G, G sharp, A. So this is a fully diminished 7 chord. F sharp fully diminished 7, G fully diminished 7, G sharp fully diminished 7, etc., etc., etc. This one is a little bit fun because it is also the sad face chord. If you watch Bugs Bunny or very old cartoons where they're just like, hitting the cat on the head and he has stars around his eyes. After someone gets hit in the head with the frying pan, they take a fully diminished 7 chord and they move it down like this, one at a time. And so if you have a friend in the room and they open a drawer in the kitchen and a plate falls on their head and cracks and they start to cry, you do this. And maybe you don't have that friend anymore because that's not very empathetic, but that's it's what it is. So these are all your more common types of chords you can play. Most pop music with these. A lot of songs sometimes have some complicated thing you don't understand in them. It says like flat 9 or something, and a lot of times you can just take any odd number above 7 and make it 7 and make it sound like this by substituting. Make it sound like the song by substituting one of these chords. So now you know these. Once you learn them, which you can do with I Will Survive, you can learn tons of songs. Tons and tons of songs. In our next video, we're going to go over some finger picking patterns that lets you make interesting rhythms with these different chord shapes. etc., etc., etc. All right. Thank you for watching. We hope you learned something. And that is it for